Very exciting. All right. Let's make sure we're all good to go.
Get instant savings when you enroll in Snapshot Program, a new program.
Here we go, here we go. We are live, baby. Very exciting stuff. Just getting settled in right now. But hello everyone, how are we feeling? It's pretty rough here in Georgia. I live in like southwest Georgia and the pollen is running so rampant. So if it looks like I'm screaming, crying, fighting for my life, it's because I am. But otherwise it's a very exciting week. I've got the last 2 dates of Ben's tour in Denver and Minneapolis, and then new song out at midnight, so it's a lot to celebrate. Feeling blessed, that's good. That's all you can ask for. Francis, what's up? Sweet. But yeah, it's good to see everybody. I haven't done an Anjuna stream in a long time, and I love doing these track breakdowns a lot. Mainly because it's just cool to see, like, especially after the fact of a song being signed, it's like cool to look back on it and be like, how did they let me get away with that? So let me make sure I got everything going and we'll get started. Ableton's good. Yeah, okay, cool. Send audio. Cool. Montreal show was fun. Montreal was so insane. Like, I mean, I've played quite a few Anjuna shows so far this past like year and a half, but these shows with Ben, I don't know if, I mean, it is a slightly different crowd, but like you guys went so nuts. Like I think that was the first time I had, like, I don't know, there were people literally just screaming at nothing, like nothing at all. And it was exciting. It was fun. Okay, so with that being said, yeah, Ableton crashed earlier. Leave me alone. Let me make sure this. We'll figure that out in a second. All right. With that being said. So this song "Promise to Keep" is something that I wrote. It was well after the album was pretty much done. I felt like the album was done for like, I want to say a year. Almost. Not that much time. It was done in a really short period of time, so I thought. And I remember Andrew Bayer was telling me, like, at the order that it was, it just needed a closing track. And that's why I wrote this, but I think what ended up happening... There's an echo? Okay. I know why. It's that. Okay. There we go. Got it. Should be fine. But it leads us to a different problem later that we'll figure out. So, okay. Let me know if it's fixed. It should be fixed now. But yeah, so I wrote this song, like, I want to say October of last year. And it was like, I was visiting Andrew's house. It was like between September, October of last year. I was visiting Andrew's house to finish, I want to say, the last song on his album. And I like showed it to him and I was like, hey, it was just like a quick breakbeat track. and he was like, you should write some lyrics to it. You should and you should test it out. So I ended up testing it at open air in Brooklyn. Okay, cool, good. And that was the first time I played it out. And then like afterwards, Andrew was like, you should add it to the album. And I think what ended up happening is that Deep had recommended just a different order of the songs, and that ended up helping me like make it feel more complete. Because at first I was just gonna keep writing more songs, but I think it ended up being beneficial to just like change up the order. It's just helpful for other people to hear a project as a whole and kind of give some insight in that way. So that was great. But I'll play it for you guys really quick. Without giving too much away. I don't want to drop the whole track list just yet. I don't think we've done that yet. Switch to the internets. So yeah, this is the song, Promise to Keep. We'll listen to it one way through, and then we'll go through the track project file. So yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. I've heard it a bajillion times, so we're gonna listen to it a lot in depth in a second. But yeah, that's pretty much the song. I did want to show you the two inspirations for this song were this side project that Marabou State has called Shire Tea. And they have this song called Blue Kiss that's like just super fast, really dirty, breaks, a super soulful vocal. It's such a freaking banger, dude. And I've tried to play it in sets before, but I can never get it to quite fit. But it's this song. It's such a banger. And I didn't even come close. So good. But yeah. So it was a mix between that and this Bonobo tune with Teed, which I feel like is a little bit closer in pocket, but still like not even close to execution. I'll try to like pull from songs just so I know what particular vibe I want, but I rarely ever come close to copying as much as I desperately want to sometimes. And that, I mean, if you haven't heard it, it's just breaks and arps. It's fun. And 808s, just a lot of sub. It's such a fun song. I love it. But yeah, so between those two, those were a huge influence for the backbone of the song. And from there, I kind of like, when I start most of my songs, whether it be, hey mom, my mom's here. Whenever I start songs, whether it be for my OLAN stuff or like the alternative rock band stuff that I'll write with Matt, it almost always starts with drums and bass, just because I feel like it's easier to write a vocal when I have that like really primal energy off rip, and then the vocals just help give it identity, and usually I can write the rest from there. But this was one of those songs where I could not come up with lyrics for a long time, and you'll be able to tell because they're very simple. So yeah, that being said, I hope this works. It was being funny on me earlier, but we should be good now. Yeah, okay, yeah, it's not only working, it's clipping. Got it. Okay, so with that being said, feel free to ask a question whenever you feel led by the Holy Spirit to ask. If I can't answer it, then it's because I forgot. But I'll go ahead and start with the drums since that was the foundation of this. One thing that I do a lot, and it's just from like trying to learn how to synthesize my own drums, but now I just use samples and apply the same method, which is changing up like I'll lay down my my kick and snare pattern first, and then sometimes I'll layer the breaks over that, and then depending on what the song needs, I'll start pushing attack and release and like kind of just reprocessing my samples in a way so that they kind of blend together, even though, and it feels different even though I'm using samples. So for the kick drum, I'm pretty sure that's a medicine kick, which is crazy. Yeah. Let me know if the sound's coming through for you guys. It says it is on OBS, but I just want to be safe. Welcome. So a lot of the character and punch is coming from drum bus. Ableton's drum bus is like, it's like Tylenol, where like nobody knows why it works, but it works really well. I use this on my drum bus. I use it on my kicks. I'll use it on my bass a lot of the time when I need just like either a little bit of saturation or I want to do some transient shaping. But two of my favorite things are either the drive and crunch are really fun, but this boom feature is really cool because like, especially when you're playing with a lot of compression and distortion, you can lose a lot of the low end, and it it just kind of sucks the life out of some of your instruments at the time. So like what's cool about this drum bus is it adds back in some low end, and you can even tune it by frequency so it's in the key of the song, which is really cool. And that's what I have going on here, where it's only one drum sample aside from the breaks, and then I have my drum bus doing a lot of the dirty work because I'll even take it off. The kick, of course, like the sample matters, but the drum bus adds a lot. Like it's got the top click down packed, but I just needed a little extra body yaddy yaddy. That's very assertive. We assert ourselves. And then after that, I have an EQ where, and I'd say be careful about this because I remember when I was first starting out, I would look at articles that were like, make cuts around, they would tell you what frequencies to cut at, and I would follow that to a T, and it ended up ruining a lot of my mixes. So I'm not going to tell you the same thing. I'll try not to, but I'll notice a lot of muddiness in kick drums around like 160 to excuse me, around like 400, and I have to like kind of scan through. And one thing I'll have to keep in mind is that whatever you take away will be brought out in somewhere else. So you kind of have to compromise like what should be taken away. And in this case, it like I said, it's usually around like 160 something to 200. It's not much. And I try to make a habit of this. I sometimes mess it up, but I'll use separate EQs. So one EQ is doing all my cuts, and the other one will do any boosts that I want. So yeah, that's my kick. Snare is, Jesus Christ, what? Okay, just another side note here. To my point of resampling drums and like trying to layer my sounds, that's why I use an instrument rack, and that way I can switch in between ones I like and find which ones go together well. But this is overkill. This is disgusting. I'm sorry. So this first one, like it says Rohan. Like, did I even use a Rohan sample in this? Lord knows. But here we go. I'm extremely guilty of using rim shots and everything because I don't like the sound of snares sometimes. And so I probably started with that. And these are both like, this one kind of has a little more actual snare character to it, and it's mainly just to fill things out. Alone, it sounds really sad. And I don't have much going on with the processing. Like, if I would change something, I probably would have cut out a lot of the low end in this snare. But aside from that, another thing I learned from Matt as well is you'd be surprised how much changing the pitch of your snares, especially, like this works for breaks as well, but when you change the pitch of your snares or percussion, it can kind of help it sit in the song better without you having to actually do any mixing. Don't ask me why. I don't make the rules, but that's how I feel about it. Okay, and now the fun stuff. And by fun stuff, I mean, oh no, not yet. Okay. So after that, I have my tops. Let's see. I have a hat going. I'm pretty sure it's just a 909. It's a 707 hat. In battery. I need to figure out how to show my third-party plugins on here, but it's a 707 battery stock sound. The one, if I'm like trying to come up with ideas fast, if I'm gonna be making like dance music, batteries, jack and kit, it's like it comes with the software, but I'll go to that a lot because it has all your standard drum machine sounds, which is very helpful. After that, I have this perk. Let's see what it sounds like because I don't remember. Just kidding. Just give me this. Maybe not. I guess it's... Oh, there we go. Okay. There's some sounds like that I'll find in my mix where I'm like, what? Is there a purpose? What was the reason? What was the reason, babe? Moving on, I've got shakers, which are very simple. I don't try to be original with these at all. Like, I typically use the Cashmere loops from like, 2015, 16. The shakers sound just fine. So I'll go with those, or like I'll just use a splice loop. I'm indifferent to that because typically people can't tell the difference when it comes to your shakers. As long as, if it's a splice sample, don't sweat it. It's more so about just making sure that the timbre and the rhythm fits well. And it's sidechained to the kick as well. And I noticed that whenever I was going into the breakdowns, I would also like high pass it. Question, do you tune your individual drum hits? Sometimes. I don't do it all the time because there's been a couple instances where I'll tune my drums, specifically the kick. Like, this is specifically a problem with the kick, where if I tune it, it actually, like, even if it's in key, it doesn't really fit anymore. Or I'll have to, like, do a bunch of other different changes. Hey, Krug. A bunch of other different changes to the actual processing of the kick if I tune the drums. So when I think about it, like while it might be beneficial to tune to the track at times, I usually think about it in a sense of like tuning it until it feels like it's sitting correctly. And my only justification for that is that when I was playing in bands, it's not like the drummer would like tune his kit to every song every time we moved on to the next song. It's just about making sure that the tone sits right. So that's probably not the best advice, but that's just kind of how I go about it. Hey Ryan. Okay. After that, Shakers Link. This is literally a sample from it's from a Nintendo pack thing that my friend Talons sent me. He makes a lot of melodic bass music. He's such a nice guy, based in Vegas. But he like sent me a bunch of plugins and then this weird Nintendo pack thing. And it just sounds like, oh, it's offline. That's okay. It literally just sounds like from Link. It's literally Link going like, and it works because it makes the break sound like it's like a think break or an almond break. It sounds like it's resampled, but that's the only reason why I put it in there. And it was definitely a heartbreak rip as well. I hope I'm not missing other sounds. That was an issue earlier. Oh my god, this nightmare. Okay, another thing I would tune is toms. Do tune your toms. Tune those toms. I hate writing toms. If there's two drum sounds I hate, it's toms and hi-hats. They drive me insane. They make me very angry. So angry. And the best advice I have is like, keep it tight, keep it tuned, and pan them like you would a normal drum. I hate fills. I do. It's the last thing I do. I know it's the wrong way to approach it, but I can't stand them. And yeah, this is like a kit from Ableton stock situation, so that's crazy. Crashes are typically an afterthought. This is another thing that I like do not think much about. And I'll typically just go to Splice and grab any crash. And I do tune my crashes as well, mainly because I've noticed when I pitch it a little bit higher, it'll sit in the mix a little nicer, in my opinion. And then after that, I have another crash. I also reverse them a lot. It makes for really good transitions. And then finally, I have this ambient noise. I always put like vinyl or the sound of people walking or whatever. I put a lot of that in the this is just some kids, which I use this sound in 2 songs on the album, and it's more prominent in the other. Okay, now for real, for the fun stuff. The breaks. I got really scared because I thought I lost everything on this project file for a second. If I'm missing something, I have it in a different group. It took me a long time. I've been producing for a long time, but a lot of the like breaks and drum and bass stuff that I like try to do is from trying to copy Matt Zo too much, or just coming up in that, like whenever I was getting started and writing rock records, I would still be really fast paced. Everyone that I was watching and like trying to compare myself to was making really complex breaks and drum and bass and all this stuff that I wanted to do too, but realized I might just have to be I don't know. I just had to find my own way to do it. So, like I said earlier in the stream, one thing that I kind of have to do to help give the song its own identity is to start my drum break with the kick and snare first and develop that pattern, and then I'll add the breaks in, because if I do it the other way around, it gets really easy to want to just use the break as is, and makes it like really hard for you to think outside of what it could be. And I'm saying that, and then watch this be the most basic thing you've ever heard. It definitely applied to the build up. So this is how the first one sounds. And very, very simple. But what's fun about it is that I have a good bit of saturation. I use this a bit warmer preset from Ableton Saturator a lot. I feel like it's usually just enough. Excuse me. Oh my god. Seltzer water. Thank you, Adam. And then there's the drum bus. Like I said, it's just really good at giving things a lot of body and saturation. And I also used it as a transient shaper as well to kind of help those hits feel a little bit longer. Apparently, I used a second transient shaper. I don't know. Is it doing anything? No. Okay, that's unimpressive. Moving on. This is this a convolution reverb or the high? There's like a Ableton has a hybrid or convolution reverb that's ungodly for no reason. It's just really good. And the Fat Drum Studio preset is nice because it also adds a little bit of dirt to it, a little spit. An attempt was made to add 2. Good thing I didn't. And then I take out the low end just because I really just needed the mid range on this, the mid and highs. The kick and snare and my percussion are handling the rest. Adam, it's coming so soon you have no idea. It's insane. You're gonna lose your mind. And then here's the second break. This is from a Marabou State sample pack that I use a lot on this album. So much. It's kind of unreal, and we'll get to it when I get to the melodic content of this. So yeah. No problem. This one's a lot more simple, and it's got a lot more processing done to it. It's mainly, again, to kind of just fill that mid-range and high space, push the groove a little bit better. I took a lot of the low end out, but then I also used reverb to push it back further in the mix. I don't always recommend that. Sometimes I'll just use a glue compressor. Like I'll put the attack and release all the way down on a glue compressor and then use the threshold to like tuck the kids into bed. And that usually does it, but I felt like reverb kind of added a bit more tonality, and I think I was just obsessed with this preset at the time. Once I find something, I like can't put it down. But yeah, that's my drums pretty much, and this is how it sounds all together. I will say during the build up, I do chop the break a lot more around here. This one got a lot of love right here. And also filter it in. I filter it in, and then I think at the very end to go into the drop, I reversed it, which is a really common way for me to like make a transition. Very easy. Music is easy. So then vocal. Who girls? All right. So my vocal processing is disgusting. It's so bad. Horrible practice. I've been using the same mic since like for 6 years. It's got a dent kicked into it, but this is the mic that I use for the whole album. I've used it on one song for Andrew's album. But I guess it works. So here's how I'll just play it a cappella.
If I could think of all the right things to say, would you hold me to this feeling in the end? If I could think of all the right things to say, would you hold me?
You can even hear the computer fan in the back. Why did y'all let me sign this?
When you're old.
Jose, that's tight. I'll see you on Friday. So the vocals are pretty simple. I treat vocals a lot like guitar, where I'll it's common to do doubles, and then I try to keep them at the most around like 25 pan left and right. And if I remember to, I'll process them a little bit differently, where one side is a lot cleaner, it has delay, maybe some chorus or something, and then the other side will have all my distortion or crunch, because I love doing vocals with crunch. I don't think I did that necessarily here. I'm pretty sure most of this was just focused on doing this like triplet delay effect that I love from a lot of Matt Zo's Damage Control album does it, where it's just like triplet delays. I'll show you, for example, here.
If I could think of all the right things to say, would you help me to?
And it's also when I DJ, if you when I'm DJing, if you notice I'm like struggling and trying to like tap in a beat like onto the CDJs, I'll try to tap out triplets if I can on a song and use a triplet delay, and it just does something really nice. It fills out a mix really nicely. I love it. But it's just basic vocals left and right. I use a little bit of pitch correction. I have to be really careful with it because I've noticed my voice has a hard time with auto-tune. So I usually just like do just a little bit, and I like the sort of ceiling. It almost feels like a glue almost. It just kind of adds this little air of like polishedness to the, I'm making up words, but it just helps. A little bit of saturation and EQ, I guess. No, maybe. What was the girl thinking? I don't know. And then I have an octave where I'm pretty sure it's just pitched down in the middle.
If I could think of all the right things to say.
And one thing I guess to keep in mind here when you're pitching down the vocal is like play around with the warp modes here, because sometimes that repitch will be really cool. Sometimes complex sounds cool. Sometimes you need a little bit more control by using Complex Pro and changing the format to get the like enunciation that you want. Track delay should be it depends on like the vibe you're going for. So like if it's on a lead vocal, I'll do really, really short slap delays, where it's like I'll switch it to time and do like milliseconds. But in this case, I needed it to be this like really like ethereal feeling, and so I'll drag it out. And another thing to be safe is using a send instead, because then if you use sends, you can saturate the send, you can EQ it separately, and that way it will sit with the dry vocal, which I honestly would suggest you do instead of just throwing the delay on there. You're signing at all to the vibe with post-processing. Sorry, singing. I typically start with gibberish with every song that I have to write. I'll just to get the melody idea, and then I treat it like, you know how when you're like looking at clouds and then you can kind of like notice like it looks like there's a baby in the clouds, and then your brain puts that picture together and then it puts a bunch of pictures together. That's kind of how it is with vocals, where I'll sing complete nonsense and your brain sort of wants to make words out of it. It's all like The Sims. Your brain like wants to make words out of it, and so I'll like gradually go from there. And then I have an app called Rhymer's Block on my phone, where once I get a couple of those lines in my mind, I'll write them down, and then it gives you rhyming words based on whatever word you're selecting, which makes writing so fast. It's very fun, and also just kind of pulls you out of what like you most expect to want to go to for your lyrics, which is cool. So then we have the backing vocals, and this is something that I mentioned in my track breakdown of Wake and Return, which is on my YouTube channel. We stay plug-in. When I do my backing vocals, I do a lot of doubles, and I do a lot of stacks, and I also try to pan them a lot wider, and I'll compress them a lot harder as well, so that they're really, really tucked in behind the lead. So like here's the first set.
Would you hold me to this feeling in the end?
Hot. There's a lot of saturation. I have a tube saturator on here. The EQ taking out a lot of the low end because I wanted the lead to carry most of the chest voice. I'm singing in a falsetto, so it like I won't have to EQ as much really. I'm not sure why I added the standard multiband. That might have just been me being heavy-handed. But it's just a lot of saturation and then a delay send over here. Here, I have 3 going on, but we can get to that later. And then I have a second set that are whispers, and I learned this from a Disclosure video, like a live stream that they had for, I forget what song. It's off the new album, but I thought this was so genius, where like on top of the regular vocals, they had this vocalist's whisper, and it added it just added so much character to the song, and without it, like I can't describe it, but just add some really nice like crispiness to it. And we like crisp here. We like it. We like some crunch.
If I could think of all the right things to say,
That's it.
would you hold me to this feeling in the end?
That's okay, Walter. I forgive you for using FL.
If I could think of,
And with the lead.
if I could think of all the right things to say.
That computer fan's killing me. But yeah, so it just adds a little something extra. I have it panned all the way out. It's compressed to the gods, saturated to the gods, and that's pretty much it. That's my vocal. The lyrics are super repetitive, and I just like tried to be a bit more spontaneous with how things are automated throughout the song. There's like I do delay automation throughout the entire song to kind of keep it interesting for myself because your girl gets bored. Let's move on to the bass, which is my favorite. This one, when I say this song sucked to mix so much. It was a nightmare. And it was because I have like 4 or 5 different bass tones. It's unreal. It's so messed up. It's self-sabotage, truly. So, we'll just go down the line. So the first one I have is a Reese bass that I use this all the time. In this case, it's just 2 forms of wavetable. And I'm pretty sure one is taking up my high end. And I've got a lot of like chorus and what else? Chorus, it's EQ'd really high, and then like a slap delay, and it sounds like this. Very like weird and messy. And then I have a second one, which I'm pretty sure is handling my low end for me. It's a lot drier. And my reasoning for this, you can do this with just about anything, and I'm starting to apply it to my live bass as well. But when you have, sometimes a sound just needs a bit more saturation, or it just needs a little bit more width to it. I especially find this true with bass. And what's cool with Ableton is that you can throw an instrument rack in, and then create multiple chains and multiple signals with one instrument, and then just EQ what you need from each and add a ton more processing. So what I'll do a lot of the time with bass is like I'll split into high and low, and then the high end I'll do a lot of like either chorus or reverbs, delays, like a lot of distortion, just like really over the top processing so that it's like what I want the audience to hear. And then the lower half will be what I want to be felt, like the like actual like weight of the track in the other one. And it's another trick I learned from Matt, but it's extremely helpful, and I just started doing it with my live bass signal now as well. When I play live bass, I'll split the two, and so I have a really like round clean signal, and then my other signal will be like all the distortion and crunch and like even octave stuff that I want to do. And the reasoning for that is that typically your bass, it's not that you have to keep things super dry. It's just easier for mixing later down the road if your low end isn't like messed up with a bunch of chorus and reverb, like a bunch of space effects. You lose a lot of the depth to it. Does that make sense? The low end will usually be in mono. I didn't do it in this case because I'm a psychopath. I don't know what was going on. But like that low channel will be in mono, but then that top end is where like a lot of the width can come from, and the transients as well. So after that we have the acid. Another wavetable. Really? I made this with wavetable, really? Girl. I mean, it is a nice synth. Sometimes I think wavetable sounds better than Serum. Argue with the wall. Okay, that sound was really, I remember it giving me a really hard time. But it's just a square wave with a filter on it and a lot of resonance to give it that squelcher sound. And I remember Andrew specifically telling me to like automate the frequency and resonance of the sound to give it some like character throughout. And so through the breaks it's like filtered down and it builds up. And if I want to like create more tension, then I'll add more resonance. And I think it helps push the melody a lot too, which is cool. And then I have my favorite distortion plugin, which is Ableton Stock Pedal. And I love it because you get 3 different features. You get your overdrive, distortion, and then fuzz. And I usually pick fuzz. I love the sound of fuzz. But it's great because it gives you 3 different options and they each have their own flavor. So just for example, like that's with fuzz. Kind of sounds hot. But they all have their each characteristic, which is really nice. And then I have a reverb that I'm pretty sure is used. It's used to just like tuck it back in the mix during the breakdowns and then come back in. I automated the volume as well. Because I remember I needed a different bass line to kind of come in and take the lead at some point. This song sucked to mix, dude. Oh my god. I forgot. And then I have this EQ filter that is literally just like where's it at? What? I think it's just to take off a little bit of the top end, just to give some headroom to the mix. And then I have a Monarch doing the exact same sound, just in a different timbre. And giving the synth a little bit of body. We like body, yaddy, yaddy. Yeah, and then I have 2 more basses. This is my 808. This is my 808. There's a song, it's a remix. It's a remix of a Jody Wisternoff song that I really like a lot. I run it into the ground in a lot of my sets. But what I love about it is it has this like the 808s in it like are basically the melody, where they're just like they push the whole groove of the song, where it's just like a lot of 808 hits in a really creative way. And so I kind of like tried to emulate that in this. If I could have done something different, I probably would have done something more with the saturation. I feel like it needs a lot more bite. But I always think that. I always want to add more distortion to things. But Here's how it sounds with a kick, just so you have a context. Like a part of me would have I probably would have brought out the saturation on that more, because I feel like it could be, I don't know if brighter is the right word, but just bite. And then finally I have a sub, I'm guessing just to add weight where it needs it. I typically use operator because that's really all you need, just some sine waves. Low passed it because I didn't need any high end, but then I'm an idiot and added erosion. It's not actually, no, it's actually a cheat code. So if you want your subs to have some definition and maybe poke through those phone speakers a little bit, I'll add some wide noise erosion. Almost always does the trick. And I use that on a lot of bass sounds. It's very fun. But yeah, so yeah, this is a lot. Just like on its own. Messy. Okay, more fun stuff is the music. Whew, you're asking a girl that's still trying to figure it out. That's mainly what I'm trying to do this year, is play more live shows. And as of now, like, I'm not the person to ask, because my shows, I'm trying to center around playing bass and singing. But it's been really tricky because I'm like, all right, how do I avoid just using Ableton backing tracks? It's very sad. But for DJing, it's really fun. I use this like Will Marshall template from 2015. That's really great. So we'll start, I guess we'll just go down the line again. I have strings to help push progression in the breaks. Or no, I guess, yeah, just in the breaks. I use contact strings. Their string ensemble plugin or library, and they're really like raspy sounding. I think the only change I would make is having real strings, but aside from that, just like maybe adding something with more definition. The progression's pretty though. And I typically try to make my chords harmonize with the vocal part that I have. Plux. Yeah, contact is amazing. If this is a sound, I think it is. There was a period of time where I would only use Ableton's analog for my sounds. It was a very dark time, and it seems to be now. But this is just an ARP that I have going on throughout the track that helps push a lot of the melody. And the inspiration from this definitely comes from like footwork, and mainly like footwork and breaks, where it's just very silly, static, and like just a lot of hits, staccato groove, and it's just fun. And this is what that sounds like. If I can. I love silly stuff like that. I do it quite a bit in this album, but I love it. I'll do it with a vocal chop. I'll do it with synths. I think it's so much fun. But it's just two instances of Ableton's analog. They're not that much different in tone. They're not much different in tone, which is, I wouldn't always recommend that, to be honest. And the processing isn't even that different. But it's got a little bit of delay that I automate throughout the song. And just some basic compression effects that I'm not using. A little bit of auto pan and some reverb. But yeah, when I double my synths, like, I would recommend trying to have them sound a little bit different if you can. It makes the mix sound a little bit fuller. I don't know what I was thinking here. But that's the theme of the day. Okay, we're gonna keep it moving. What's this? Oh yeah, okay. Okay, so a lot of the melodic structure of this song, I didn't write actual chords. You'll notice there's no chords in this except for from the strings. It's all sounds from this Marabou State sample pack, and I would just do a call and response thing with them to make them like it feel like there's a progression. So in this case, why is the mic on? By itself, it sounds stupid. You can spell Olin with the letters in Donald. Marabou State. It's a Marabou State sample pack that they put out like years ago. And it comes with really cool synths and one shots and stuff. So I created this weird call and response situation with that. And here as well. Love that sound. Love that sound so much. I can never get guitars to sound that cool. This was a live recorded guitar that I did with guitar rig on it to do some shimmers and stuff, which you can probably do with some Ableton grain delay if you wanted to use a stock plugin. Weekend is gonna be fun. And this is actually a perfect example of what I mentioned earlier, where to tuck some things in, I'll use this glue compressor with this exact setting, like attack release all the way down, leave the ratio where it's at, and then mess with that threshold until I feel like the sound is sitting in the mix, and then I'll bring up the makeup gain if I feel like it needs some volume, but that's really it. Finally, I have these horns, which I remember being really upset because like I was trying to get this like brutish, like elephant trunk sounding feel whenever the sound hit, because it's in here too. And I was like, I wanted more, and I couldn't figure it out. And I tried using a real horn from Contact, and I don't think it does the trick, to be honest. But I still think this whole pattern is very interesting. So it's like a cool little melody, yeah, and I use that to kind of build the vibes. I didn't even use that horn sound. Yeah. We're almost done. So last thing I got on here is some pads. I will often use my voice as a pad, as the foundation, and then start from there, but I don't think I did that this time. This is just a sample. I don't remember where it's from. I also don't know what this EQ job is. Do you see this? Please tell me you see this. Like, I took out all the high end, and then, like, what does it sound like without this? I guess it's excessive, but this EQ work is insane. It's like, why have the sound then, babes? More drones. It just sounds exactly the same. Using granulator, though, which is one of my favorites if you want to make a pad out of anything. It's really fun. I actually didn't master this song, but I'll show you I guess the pre-master that I used before I sent it out. Yeah, all these sounds are exactly the same. I think the only thing I would change about that is something that I do now with my pads, which is sorry. I'll make chords out of the pads, so none of them are the same tone or pitch. I'll have them like fluctuate so that they're harmonizing with each other, which I didn't do in this song for some reason. Take care. So yeah, that's really all there is. Just a lot of EQ. I think on the group there's a lot of compression, um, and some saturation. Like I was saying before, how I treat my backing vocals with this isn't a rule of like religion to go by, but typically when sounds are a little bit higher, uh, in the mix or in frequency, that I'll compress them a lot more, and pads especially, because it's one of those things where like I love hearing them, but I also don't want to hear them. Oh my god, allergies exist. Okay. Aside from that, there's a lot of sends here, but I think I only actually used the delays. And the reasoning for that is because, excuse me, with space effects, you can, I prefer to use sends so that the dry signal doesn't get too muddy or like run over itself. And this way you can EQ things out. You can saturate them, you can compress them more, and like tuck them into the mix a little bit better. And in this case, I have 3 different delays. One is just doing a standard eighth notes. One is doing, one is like a slap delay, which honestly, this is criminal. That's jail. And then, just a hybrid. What is going on? Okay. Then I have a triplet, which is the one I use the most, and then I have a reverb send as well. And again, like I said, the main thing with this is EQing out a lot of the low end and compressing, and usually that's all I need. And maybe I'll saturate it if I want it to feel a little bit brighter. So okay. On my master chain, and keep in mind this was mastered by someone else, but what I do when I send songs out, I'll have a utility first, because you'll notice in my breaks, I'll show you the automation. Did I not? Huh? What? Maybe I just did it. Oh, I did it with my drums. I'll do volume automation. Any volume automation that I want to do with the master track, I'll do with the utility at the end. I use this is a free Max for Live plugin called Color Limiter that is literally just saturation, and I won't do anything to it but just mess with the color and saturation on it. So I'll show you how it sounds. It loses a lot of that like mid high range. It adds so much. It's a cheat code, honestly. And then on EQ, I just have a little bit of like 200 taken out, a little bit of 160, which honestly, like, something to keep in mind with your master chain. If you find yourself EQing a lot, it means you need to go fix your mix, and that was the case a lot for this song, but I guess I just ended up settling on that. Then the mix gel, which is a preset compressor from Ableton that I almost always use on the master, just because I feel like it glues everything together without being super abrasive. And I just like how it sounds. And then after that, I use FabFilter Pro L just to bring the volume up to where I need it to be, and I leave myself about -6 of headroom. And then this is just my streaming plugin. That's really it. I like when I do master my own stuff, this is typically what it is, like a volume, a compressor, saturation, and EQ is really about it. If I find myself like having to do a bunch of stuff, then it means I have to go back to the mix and fix it in the mix, like whatever's bothering me. And that way, like by the time I get to mastering, you don't really need all that much going on, which applies to most things in music. Like if something's bothering you, it's probably because the sample's not good, or you need to re-record it again and move the mic. It's like something where like go back to the source, fix the source, and then you don't have to do nearly as much work with post-processing, which this song was so sloppy. It was so hard to mix. there's so many layers, and it was messy, but it's one of my favorites to play out nowadays. So Mixgel is included. I want to say it's been a preset under the compressor tab for a few years now. But yeah, that's the whole track, and like I said, it's a lot, but I'm really proud of it, and it's been really fun to play out live. I think it grew on me a lot more when I started sharing it with other people, because at first I was very uncertain. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got going. If you guys have any more specific questions, feel free to ask. One thing to I guess a couple plugs is turn this down as well. A couple things to plug is if you can't make it to the Denver show with me and Ben this weekend, tickets for the open air show are still around, and I can see you then. If not, I'll see you IRL in Denver and Minneapolis this weekend, which is very exciting. This song that I just showed you guys comes out at midnight, along with something else, like a really, really big surprise, a very big surprise that I've been excited about for a long time, tomorrow, which involves, honestly, what I'm most excited about is it means I get to share an unreleased song that I've loved for, like, I don't know, it's just fun. But yeah, I'm gonna be hitting a lot of Anjunadeep stops this year, which is pretty freaking exciting. The more I play with them, the more, I don't know, the more I'm just like, okay, I get it. I see what's going on. I see what you guys are cooking. But I'm excited for the Weekender pre-party. I've only been to Seattle once, and it was just to see Curian play for her birthday, but now it'll just be fun. Minneapolis is like a state I've never been there before, and I was like, how did it sell out? People exist, people are there, okay, let's go. But yeah, I'm really excited for the next few weeks to just, like, I don't know, I'm excited for the album. I'm excited to share it with you guys. It's been really cool to just, like, go from making a bunch of songs in this room to for myself, and I made a lot of them on stream, but like kind of just seeing how everything's come together with other people's help, and like just allowing people to take control and it work out really well. It's been nice. It's been a really good learning experience. But yeah, if you guys don't have any questions, that's pretty much all that's going on. And thanks a lot for tuning in. I stream every Wednesday on my own channel, youtube.com/OLAN Sound. Next week I want to make soup. I'm going to be home from tour and I want to make some soup. Maybe we can just kick it and talk while I make some chicky tortilla soup. The album releases on June 10th. June 10th. I was producing well before I could DJ. I was like an orchestra and band kid growing up. And after that, like, I started producing electronic music. I was gonna say I recorded bands first in high school, then got into electronic when I was like maybe 18 or 19. And I'm 28 now. And I probably didn't get to DJ until about 2015 when I was living in Belgium. So I haven't been DJing for as long, like nearly as long as I've been writing music. Indulgence! The cheat code to arranging is to steal. Be a thief. Sort of, kind of. I'll pull up a reference song when I need help figuring out arrangements or like how to switch things up. I'll just go listen to a few songs that I like with the same vibe and see how they go about smoothing out the flow between transitions. Another way to do it is to make sure that you're writing A, B, and C sections, kind of like a jazz band. Create 3 or 4 different sections of a song, then the only job is to smooth out the transitions, but it forces you to get out of the loop, which is nice. Madison, you should make tortilla soup. I'll be streaming on YouTube exclusively now, every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time, so basically the same time as this stream. But yeah. Yeah. This is fun. This was really fun. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. But I'll see you next Wednesday. If I don't see you over the weekend at the shows. So you guys be safe, be well. Conquer everything that challenges you. Yeah, let me drop a link. I don't know if I put a space there. But yeah, it's that. Yeah, I'll see you guys later. Be safe. Talk soon. Hit me on socials if you want. Bye.